Okay, so if you have an old computer that's slow, can't really play games at all, well, this is a video that's going to show you how to upgrade it so that you can play modern games like Battlefield, maybe on low settings, and then older games like Call of Duty. Any Call of Duty game you'll be able to play pretty much high settings. All you need is, to make it fast, you need a new processor, which is this processor in here. It's all wrapped up. It's an older computer. Now, to get inside, there will be a couple of thumb screws like this that you have to take off to the side. To figure out which side you need to take off, some sides you can take off both. Whatever side you plug this into, it will be the opposite side. So this just pops off. And there you can see the inside of your computer. Now, you also have to have a new hard drive, which I've already installed because the hard drive got here earlier than all the other parts. So I already installed that. That's the old hard drive. I'm pulling up my light here. That's the old hard drive right there that you can see I've unhooked, and then I bought a new one that's in there, and that will, if it's starting up slow, if it's being slow, like turning on, opening programs, if you're hearing like this weird noise coming from the computer that you didn't hear when you first got the computer, well, this will end all those problems. It will now boot up fast. You'll have no problems booting up. Now, most of these computers that are old like this don't come with the graphics card, which is what this is. This you can get on eBay right now for $30. It's a very good price, and it can play just about any game you throw at it at low settings, and some games at high settings. Now, to put the graphics card in, we'll do that later. But for now, I'm going to replace the CPU, because that's the first part we have to do. Okay, so to take out the processor, first thing you're going to need to do is very carefully turn it on its side. If there are any cables in the way, like this was kind of blocking it a little bit, you're going to want to move those out of the way. And then this, you're going to have to get to the CPU, you're going to have to take off the heatsink. The CPU is underneath this. So to do that, just going to set that right there. You're going to see the 4 screws that go around it. Just going to take those and unscrew them. Okay, now once you've done that, you're going to lift it up. You're going to see it's going to be a power connector. You're just going to want to pull that out, and that just pulls out from right there. And you're going to look, that's the CPU right there. You're going to see there's heatsink compound. We're going to have to remove that and set that right there. Now to get out the CPU, you're going to see there's a little handle. You push that down, move it out to release it, and then that will pop up. You can move that up to take out the CPU. And if you plan on reselling this CPU, if it's a good one that already had in there, you might want to be careful with it. This is the we're not going to be using this again, so I'm just going to set that off to the side. I'm not going to completely obstruct it, but I'm going to make sure I'm careful with it. Now, for this, you're going to want to get something alcoholic, like one of those pads you could get at like Chick-fil-A or something, because we're going to be putting on fresh heatsink compound. This stuff right here. I'm going to be putting that on to replace it, because if you don't put that on, it's pretty pointless to have the CPU cooler in the first place. Now, I don't know where these came from, but they're alcoholic, so very tiny. Still, they'll get the job done. Now, you could also get, if you wanted to spend a little bit extra money, you could get actual heatsink remover compound for that actually degrades it. But if you don't have that, just simple anything with alcohol content, not like drinking alcohol, but I suppose that would work too in extreme circumstances. But you want to make sure that this is really nice and clean. Okay, so now that this is clean, you're going to want to wait for it to dry. If your CPU looks kind of dirty, which mine didn't, but if it did, make sure you clean it off with the same alcoholic substance that you used. So to put this in, you want to look for the gold corner. You're going to see a gold triangle. You're going to match that up. If you can't see that, then there are also little points in there that you can see that will line up with the grooves in this. That looks like this one goes in there. Just like that. You set it in there. Now for most CPUs, you take your heatsink compound and you're just going to want to take it right in the middle. Let's put just a bit of compound in the middle. And then once you place down the CPU cooler and you screw it in, that will spread out evenly. Depending on your CPU, you're going to want to put maybe about a pea-sized, about the size, a pea, I guess. Okay. Make sure you, when you're putting this back on, put it so that this will line up, but I almost made a new mistake by not closing this down first. So you're going to put that down, it might feel like you're pushing on it, like you're going to break it, but trust me, you're not. So you put that back down, you'll see that's where this will be touching that. And it will spread out evenly. When you're putting it back on, it's more sensitive when you took it off. You're going to make sure you put it down straight. Don't mess up. It's not super important. It will just keep the heatsink compound from moving around too much. Once you do that, you just screw it back in. Then once you finish that, just take your cable, the actual video cable, you just plug it back in. And make sure you do it just right. You don't want to mess up the prongs. They're very thin. It'd be bad if you did that. Now this specific graphics card that I've gotten requires a 6-pin PCI slot, which this power supply that you see here, power supply that it comes with, does not have that. Now I had a Molex adapter that you see I've gotten a second power supply. You may not have to do this, like for two reasons. If your power supply has the Molex connector, so you can plug in the adapter to put on the 6-pin, you won't need to buy a new power supply. But for me, that was not the case, so I had to spend an extra few dollars getting a power supply. Now, for anything that you're going to be putting on this, you probably won't need more than 400 watts. So I went and got a 400 watt one. So it's basically, if you do have to replace your power supply, you go on the back, you just unscrew the 4 screws that you'll see connecting the power supply, and that will unhinge it. And once you've done that, you're going to make sure all these cables are disconnected. Now, once you've unscrewed it, you sometimes they have connect things holding it in, as is the case here. Now you're gonna make sure all your things are unscrewed. I already had the major ones pulled out to get access to the CPU. But there we go. That is the power supply. I might resell that. It's a good power supply. It doesn't have the connections I need. So here's a new power supply. Much lighter than that one for some reason. Just gotta make sure you line up. Now one of these holes, now this one came dented, but I already opened it up and looked inside. It shouldn't affect anything except the screw hole. Make sure you're going to see one of the screws is in. Now you look for the same screw hole that's indented on there, which would be that one, so you know it goes in like this. So it's getting all mixed up with the camera there. You just slide it in. There we go. Now just take those same screws and we can just begin screwing it back.